everyone, welcome to Jelly Bean. If you have been struggling with organizing your coursework folders and finding the right file you need on your laptop, then you come to the right place. Even if not, you may still want to stick around for this video because I'll also share tips on how to develop a naming convention for these folders and files. I'll start the video with the MECE Principle. MECE is super useful when it comes to classify a group of objects or ideas into subgroups. By learning what MECE is will help you understand the logic behind my organizing system. After that, I will walk you through 8 mostly used coursework folders one by one. They are the syllabus, the textbook, the point or class materials, notes and extra learning, individual assignment, group project, homework, and solution menu. In today's video, I'll show you how everything is organized within the first 4 folders and how you can develop a naming convention for these folders and files. I want to point out that since I went to a business school, all the files used in this video as examples can be a little bit different from yours. Though I will try to make everything at the folder level as generic as possible so that you can just copy-paste my method, you may still need some customization at the file level. The MECE principle is a grouping principle that can be used to separate a set of items or ideas into subsets that follow the 2 rules: mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. You can tell that the 4 letters MECE come from the first letter of these 4 words. Here is an example. If you are trying to organize your study folders by year, then you can have one folder for freshman, one for sophomore, one for junior, and one for senior. These 4 folders by nature are MECE because there is no overlap between any 2 of them, and all 4 folders collectively add up to the 4-year undergrad education. However, if you are trying to organize your study folders by category, then things can become more complicated if you don't know how to set up each category correctly. For example, you can create a folder named Case and a folder named Group Project at the same time. But when your professor assigns a group project on a case, you will get confused about in which folder you should put this file, the case folder or the group project folder. This is a very typical example of not following the MECE principle. To fix this issue, an alternative way is you can create 2 folders named Individual Assignment and Group Assignment. Since one assignment can be and only be either individual or group, it cannot be both or neither. Thus, these 2 folders are MECE. You'll see this principle repeatedly for the rest of this video, as it is the key to get your ducks in a row. By coincidence, we actually mentioned 2 ways to organize folders, by category or by time. In fact, we can use both methods at the same time as long as all folders within the same folder level are MECE. You may be curious about how I find these 8 mostly used files, and I think this finding process will help you figure out the organization system that fits you the best, especially if you don't go to a business school like me. Thus, I would like to show you how I come up with these 8 folders. The first thing I did is I revisited the 13 courses I've taken in the past and looked into each of them both vertically and horizontally. By vertically, I mean I first listed all the coursework files I've used for each course. Then I slightly grouped some of these files together and counted their frequency, which are those red boxes. Then I also checked each file type horizontally across different courses, which are these blue boxes, to see whether these files may have any mutants. And I did find some mutants. For example, some professors will revise their class schedule as the semester goes by, so you will have 2 versions on hand. Or some professors will separate the assignment schedule from the syllabus and save it as another file. If you don't get prepared for these surprises, you will be playing Overcooked. But don't worry, next I'll guide you step by step on how to organize these folders. Yes, syllabus. Syllabus is the first folder in the first file we'll talk about, not only because every course has a syllabus, but also because it is the initial place where we can get an idea of what folders we may need for each course. Typically, one course has one syllabus. Very rarely, we'll receive a revised syllabus. Thus, we can name the initial version by the course number plus the course name or the abbreviated course name plus syllabus or class schedule. Then, when we receive the revised version, we can copy-paste the old version's name and add v2 or the download date at the end of the file to distinguish it from the previous version. Most professors put the class schedule, the instruction on case, or software tutorials, etc. within the syllabus. But sometimes professors take these three out of the syllabus. If this is the case, I prefer putting these files together with the syllabus in the syllabus folder because instructions and tutorials usually will be posted online with the syllabus before the first class, as the professor will go over them during the first class. I just find it's more intuitive to put them together in one folder at that time, and I can always move them around later when I need to. Okay, now let's open the syllabus and go to the grading section. We have the midterm and the final exam at the top, and they take up 50% of the total score, which means they are super important. Thus, very likely, we need to create folders for these two items, but we are not sure yet. Okay, then we have 10 online quizzes. We may need a folder for this one as well. Below the online quiz, we have text research and international text event and paper. These two are individual assignments, so we probably need to put them together in one folder named individual assignment. Lastly, we have two text written practice sets, which can be worked on in a team of no more than 2. This means we may need a folder called group assignment. Based on our initial analysis, we can tentatively create these 6 folders. The numbering doesn't matter too much at this point because it's just a draft. We can definitely change them and rearrange the order later. The textbook folder itself is pretty straightforward. You just put all the required textbook in this folder. Simple. You can also add the course number in front of the book name. Doing so will help you quickly tell which PDF is for which course when you have multiple PDFs open on your laptop at the same time. You may ask, what if we have reading materials? Should I create a separate folder or should I put in the textbook folder? Well, this really depends on whether the reading material is for a specific class or it is used for the entire semester. If it is used for the entire semester, then I'll put it in the textbook folder. But if the reading is just for one specific class, then I'll put it with the PowerPoint slides along with other class materials. Which brings up my next point. I don't know about you, but I used to organize all the PowerPoint slides in one folder named PPT, which seems reasonable at the beginning, but it later turns out to be the biggest source of all the chaos on my laptop. And here is why. First of all, the way how a course is designed and structured is it starts with a course goal. Then the professor needs to decide a couple of major topics he or she wants to cover and further decompose these major topics into more granular components, which is the course content of each class. To effectively present this course content, the professor will use different teaching tools such as PowerPoints, practice sets, cases, readings, etc. For that reason, all these tools by design are class-oriented and all the class materials used for the same class should be put together in one folder. It won't make sense to organize these files by category, say put all the PowerPoint slides in one folder and put all the problem sets in another folder. The only exception is when you use the same PowerPoints for multiple classes. For example, my statistics class uses 4 PowerPoints for the entire semester. In this case, I created a folder named PPT and organized them by category. But believe me, in most cases, you need to create folders by class, not by category. And the second reason for doing so is when we organize each folder by class number or week number, the class schedule becomes a ready-made index from which we can quickly locate everything we need for that course. Otherwise, we need to create an index from scratch by ourselves. Okay, now let's talk about the naming convention of each class folder. You can start the folder name with the class number or the week number. It's up to you. I would prefer using week number. Optionally, you can also add the chapter number and or the topic name if you think they will be helpful to jog your memory. Then I'll add 21 dot in the front as a way to push these class folders further down to the end, as they will keep expanding as the semester goes by. The reason for using 21 is because I don't know how many folders I may need in between, and I want to leave enough space for future folders. Otherwise, I need to change all the numbering, which is a lot of work for lazy people like me. Based on my past experience, 20 folders are far than enough. You definitely can use the number 11 if you already know that 10 folders are enough. You may also wonder whether we should create a folder called Class Materials and move these folders under it. Well, you can do that. But for me, I don't want to click through an extra layer of folder to get what I need on a regular basis. Plus, on average, we usually have 15 classes per semester, which is 15 class folders. It is not too bad to leave them outside. Now let's develop the naming convention of each file. For example, here are some point slides. You can see each of them only has the chapter number. Thus, you can't quickly tell what each file contains. Instead, you have to open the file or you need to refer to the class schedule or table of contents to find out what this PPT is about. Thus, I would recommend rename these class materials by adding elements such as week number, course number, and the topic name or abbreviated topic name. After I add these elements, now I can tell that Chapter 1 is Intro to Text, and Chapter 2 is about text compliance and text authority. This will absolutely save you some time. Optionally, you can also rearrange the order of these files by adding a number in the front. PowerPoint slides probably are the most important, and I need to access it quite often, so I would assign number 1 to it. For the rest, you can arrange them in the order of importance or usage frequency. After each class, I will transfer my in-class notes to my laptop to keep a digital record and use this time to summarize what I've learned to help me comprehend and memorize. By the way, I have made a video on Cornell note-taking strategy. If you haven't watched it, feel free to check it out. In that video, I mentioned that I prefer to accumulate all the notes in one Word document, ideally no more than 2, because doing so can help me quickly look up something by searching a keyword. Thus, I'll leave this note file out of the class folders because it doesn't belong to any class. Of course, if you like keeping notes in separate files by each class, you can also create a folder specifically for these notes. Besides class materials provided by the professor, sometimes I also need to do some extra learning or Googling to help me digest those hard and complicated course content. Thus, I need to find a place to save these extra learning materials. Plus, this extra learning can be a video, a picture, an infographic, or an article from the internet. I guess I'll need a folder called Extra Learning within each class folder, because remember, these extra learning materials are also class-oriented. Okay, so this is how it looks like after we created folders for syllabus, textbook, class materials, and notes. You can try this template for different courses and see where you like to put each folder and file. Then once you find a template that works for most of your courses, you can also create a template folder so that you don't need to create everything from zero again and again. Okay, this is it for today's video. In the next video, I am going to cover tips on how to organize homework, group projects, manual solutions, cases, reports, papers, etc. Since we have learned MECE Principle today, maybe you can think about how to organize these folders and files on your own first. See you soon with my next video.